Hey, listen, you got a buyer, excited, wants to buy a house. You take him to the lender. Lender gives them a cup of coffee. Hell, they give you a cup of coffee. And you're all sitting there chit-chat, having a great time. The buyer's approved for a loan. Lender's job is to give them what's called an amortization table. Ooh, new word, amortization. Lender's job is to give this buyer an amortization table. The buyer is now going to be a borrower. He's going to have to pay back this loan. And the lender says, here's your amortization table, man. This table, this graph is going to show you every single payment you're going to be making for the next 30 years, assuming it's a 30-year loan. That's 360 payments. And the lender's going to say, listen, every time you make a payment, you'll be putting a dent on the principal balance that you owe us. The word amortization comes from a mid-English word that means death, to kill. And that's exactly what's happening with this loan. We're killing the loan. The borrower is going to kill this loan slowly. It's going to be a slow death. Now, let's talk about how amortization works. Lender says, listen, every single time you make a payment to us, the bank, there are two factors involved here. You'll be paying the principal and you'll be paying interest. Got it? PI. You'll be paying principal and interest. Now, of course, let's assume you borrow $1 million. On that $1 million, you make your first payment. Now that first payment, let's assume it's $5,000. And you make your first payment of $5,000. The majority of that $5,000, the majority, boom, is going to go to interest. And this tiny little bit is going to go to principal. You'll put a very small dent on that $1 million balance. Next month comes along, you got to make payment number 2. Now, mind you haven't really put a dent at all on this $1 million balance, so you make payment number 2. Again, the majority of the payment is going to be what? Yeah, interest, and a very small portion will be principal. So again, you put a very small dent on this $1 million note. Now, payment 3, payment 4, year 1, year 2, year 5. Now that interest is starting to shrink and the principal is starting to grow. Got it? Every time you make a payment on year 10, on year 11, on year 15, as the years go by, you're now making more of a bigger dent. That dent is huge. A lot bigger than before. So eventually, year 15, year 16, you're right about even. Every single time you make a payment, half of it is interest and half of it is principal. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're picking up some steam. You with me? We're picking up steam. Now, the whole idea, of course, is to get to year 30. By year 30, death. You killed this loan. Towards the end, the majority of the payment is going to be principal, and a very small portion will be interest. Hallelujah. You finished the race. You've made your payments. Now, listen, this is the deal. A lot of people want this death to be sooner. They don't want to kill it in 30 years. They want to kill it in 15. So they get a 15-year mortgage. Every time they make a payment, they're putting more towards principal and not interest. Mind you, when you pay interest, you'll never see that money again. So the whole idea is to give the less interest possible. Make sense? Now, ready? Here comes the good stuff. If you know anybody out there who's renting a property and they're paying $5,000 a month, $3,000 a month, anything that's equivalent to a mortgage payment, principal and interest, you should encourage them to buy property. Buy a home. Why give away rent? You'll never see that money back. When you're renting, you never see that money ever again. You're not building equity. When you're renting, you are not building financial security. And who doesn't want financial security? So when it comes to amortization and you're paying that principal and that interest, and if it's anywhere equivalent to what you're paying in rent, I'd go for the mortgage. I'd go for buying a house. Because in reality, what you're doing is setting yourself for the future, for financial freedom one day as the properties go up and up and up in value. Amortization, to kill off a loan slowly, to kill off an obligation, a loan obligation to the bank. See that in your state exam? Now you know exactly what it is. Now, listen, do yourself a favor. Check out this video here on equity. We just touched on equity. It's a big thing. It's a great financial freedom kind of thing. Check it out. You won't regret it. We'll see you next week.